Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tooth and Claw Podcast. We have our bear biologist and doesn't like dancing robots, but he likes dancing animals. Actually, no, you don't like dancing animals.
I don't really like dancing animals either. I do like dancing robots, Jeff. I just don't need to own one. But I do like them.
I'm Wes's brother, Jeff Larson, and we got Mike Smith.
Hey.
Looking dapper with his turtleneck.
Love it.
Pretty much a brother.
I don't mean that as a dig. I'm being genuine. I like turtlenecks. You look good.
Thank you. I feel good.
I have a story I kind of wanted to lead with that. I mean, if it goes a little long, we could even just tell people skip ahead. But I don't think it'll go super long.
That's up to you.
I had a listener catfish me on Instagram.
Okay.
Whoa.
Let's hear about it.
I saw this. It was just like sexy lady legs was the bubble, right? And they had like commented.
Like their avatar picture was that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like no face. It's just a skirt with like legs.
That's all it takes.
You know?
If you want to get Jeff's attention.
I read all of our comments on Instagram, and like I'd seen that bubble, and then that same day they commented on something. They were in my DMs messaging me. I look at their profile and I see that it started in September, so it'd only been around for 6 months or something, and that's weird. Because like they did have a few cute pictures or whatever. So they're like asking me all these questions. I was answering, and then I was like, so how come your Instagram's only like 6 months old? And they said, oh, I had a stalker who was a neighbor who like invited me to dinner and then like stalked me really hard. The police were involved. I had to start it all over because of that. And I was like, all right, sure, whatever. I wasn't very invested. So it's like, I'm not going to question that. They're sending me a few messages. It's very just light and whatever. And like, I'll respond to any listeners who DM me and ask me things. So then they like start showing me these cookies they made, and they made these bear cookies that were really cool looking. I was like, oh, you gotta send me cookies. And they're like, yeah, I'd love to. And then they asked for my number and my address, and I gave it to them.
Oh, no.
And then, man, they're just texting me so much. They send me this text of a Beanie Baby that's like Michigan State themed. Look at this Beanie Baby. I'm like, you know what? I think I'm done talking to this person. So I just like didn't respond. A while later, they're like, do you want me to delete your number? And it's like, we didn't text very much. I was like, why would you delete my number? And then they're like, oh, I just don't want to be bothering you. And then I'm like, I don't know. And then they like start telling me they're going through chemo. And I had a personal goal that some listeners had told me, all of us, but like had told me that Tooth and Claws really helped them with like cancer treatments or sicknesses. I always respond and I'm very nice about it, but I was kind of like, you know what? I could have done more and like checked in with those people and like tried a little harder to really help them through something hard. So I was like, maybe I should just support this person because it's obvious that they need some attention. So I started talking to him a bit again, but then I like send Mike a text. It's like, dude, this person asked me if they should delete my number. I'm regretting not saying yes so much. But then that night, I'm like trying, but not really responding that much. And that night on their Instagram story, I see a SpongeBob meme of going into 2025, expecting not to get my heart broken. Immediately gets heartbroken because guy won't text her back. I was like, whoa, like that's insane. We're not even flirting or anything. So then, I don't know, it just seemed weird. But then the next day they start messaging me a bunch and I send them a screenshot of their story. I was like, was this about me? And they're like, yeah, it is. And I was like, yeah, that's a problem because I'm like not going to be talking to you as much as I have been. And you're like not liking how little I talk to you. And then they just go into this whole chemo thing. Oh, like I'll just delete you. They block me on Instagram, immediately unblock me so that I'm not following them anymore. But then keep just DMing me a ton. They started using stuff to try to get me to be like, oh, I'm sorry, it's my fault. I was like, listen, I think that you rightfully have a lot going on. You just need some support. Can you like talk to friends and family? And they're like, no, they don't talk to me. If I die, no one will know. I'm just like, well, I talked to you like 1 day ago. I don't like, you're putting a lot on me here.
Oh, man.
They bring up chemo. I'm like, that's so, I don't know. I can't imagine, but honestly, I can't be there for you the entire day. They say, well, you're ugly on the inside and out.
Whoa. Oh, geez.
And then they say bye to me so many times too. And I say, I wish you the best. Goodbye. And then just so much more stuff. and it's just never going to end. So the next day they called me like ugly and whatever. And I said, I just am thinking, there's something weird about this. So I go on their Instagram and I look, and none of their pictures, even like pictures of them just being a cute girl, none of them have any comments. So I say, okay, this can't be real. So then I put one of the pictures that they just texted me, which was weird, just to text me pictures of themselves. But I took a picture and I searched it on Google. Nothing came up. So then I paid $10 for this like face search website that I randomly found on Reddit. And I found the actual person.
Really?
So then I DM'd the actual person. I was like, this person's been trying to catfish me with your pictures. They've had your account up for a few months. And the person was like, yeah, they also used it on Hinge around here in Michigan. And
Oh, man.
like, I don't know who it is. So I was like, well, actually, I have their phone number, so maybe you should check your contacts. And I sent them the phone number. And they're like, oh, it's not in my contacts. And then I sent on Instagram, I sent the catfish. They sent me this huge rant after I had said goodbye again. They said, I'm never talking to you again. I'm like, okay, goodbye. That's probably a good idea.
Thank you.
Yeah. And there's maybe the 5th time that they told me they're never talking to me again. And then the next day, they're like, I just got to say, I wasn't looking to you for support. I just wanted to open myself up as a friend. I can't believe you would reject that. They're like in nursing school. So I told them once, I had thought about nursing for a sec. They're like, you would have made a terrible nurse because nurses need to be compassionate and you're not compassionate, but I'm a great nurse. And just this huge rant. So I replied with screenshots of the actual girl's photos that this fake girl had sent me. And I said, so who the are you actually? And then they deleted everything, never talked to me again. And then right afterwards, the real girl messaged me again and said, oh, we looked up the phone number in the white pages. It's so-and-so.
Wow.
And the person, there's a high chance they're listening right now and are just finding out I know their name and stuff.
Well, the story could continue from there then.
But yeah, they deleted the whole account. And, you know, I don't feel too embarrassed because I don't think I really got too deep into it. I think I was just kind of bored at the start.
Sure.
You know, I'll engage with people. Like, especially you tell me you're going through chemo. Like, I'll talk to you.
Especially if you got sexy legs in your avatar.
I know. I don't know. It's just kind of crazy. It was funny, though, because, like, this person was giving me real anxiety. I was on, like, a walk, and I was just like, I'm so anxious that this person's going to text me, and, like, I just don't want to respond. So then once I figured it out, I had, like, so much relief and just was, like, feeling really good about myself.
I'm just glad you're the one that got scammed for once and not me. You know, it's nice to have someone else in the scam club.
I don't feel scammed, though.
You never do. You got scammed.
Yeah.
They got your
address. I feel
address
like
and
I'm
your
like
phone
one
number.
of those people who like get the scammers to give them money.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't know. If you're walking around feeling super anxious about communicating with this person and you gave them your number and your address, feels like you got a little scammed at least.
Emotionally scammed a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's like, well, I don't blame you. That could have happened to anybody.
I don't either. Yeah.
You know?
I don't think it's anything to be embarrassed about. I'm just saying feels good to not be the only scammy.
The lesson I got out of it is like, if you bother me to a certain point by just demanding me text you all day, you're going to make me get to a breaking point. That's what I learned about myself. I don't like texting.
Yeah.
You know what the weirdest part of the story was to me? Was when she showed you a Beanie Baby and that was the moment you decided you were done. I would have guessed that would have been the moment you bought in even more. Because you love Beanie Babies.
Yeah. I know. That was strange to me too.
She also sent me a picture of like a rock that says Michigan State on it. I was just like, I don't know like what to tell you. It's a rock.
Well,
all right, ladies out there, learn your lessons. Don't send Jeff photos of rocks or Beanie Babies.
Yeah.
Animal attack of the day is catfish, apparently. Where that's the big story of this episode.
Apparently, we're halfway through already.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into our actual story for the day. If you guys are ready, Jeff, I'm glad you didn't compromise yourself any further with this catfish and that you caught him. Good job catching that catfish.
Yeah, I feel good about it.
You should make a show about catching catfish.
I know.
Call it Catfish.
I think that's a great idea.
Well, I hope you all brought your swamp accents today because we're gonna head to the swamp. Yes, sirree. So the
What is
source
a swamp hat? What do you
No,
think?
accent. Your swamp accent.
Did you
Swamp.
say accent? I
Yeah,
thought you said
accent.
hat.
No.
A hat wouldn't hurt though.
Bring your swamp hats too. Big old swamp hats. Anyway, today's source is mostly from the show I Was Prey, which you could watch on Animal Planet, which is probably now Max. I don't know. I also read a number of news articles about this particular incident. It involves this man named Wayne Petteway.
Isn't Animal Planet just Earth? You know?
Yeah.
There's not a planet with more animals than Earth.
Not that we know of. There's probably one out there though.
So like Planet Earth and Animal Planet, it's pretty much the same title.
Yeah, you should let Zaslav, whatever the guy that owns Max, let him know that it's a dumb name. I don't know. He came up with Max instead of HBO, so I don't think he's great at naming things. Okay,
True.
so we're talking about Wayne today.
He watched The Social Network when the part where he's like, lose the on the Facebook.
Yeah, he's like,
that's what I need
to do. Just get rid of HBO, this brand that people really love. So yeah, we're talking about a Wayne today, Wayne Petteway. He grew up in Jacksonville, North Carolina. And like a lot of people, family was always really important to him. As a kid, his brother Joel was quite a bit bigger and older than him, but it didn't stop them from playing together. They spent a lot of time doing lots of different things together, fishing, crabbing, all sorts of things. And Joel was really into boxing, the older brother, and he would pay Wayne $1 to spar with him. He would let Wayne be bare-fisted and he would use boxing gloves because he's like significantly older and bigger than Wayne at the time and would just beat the shit out of Wayne.
$1. Wait, when did you say this was taking place?
This is, I'm not sure exactly the year. I would guess probably in like the 60s or 70s.
Okay. So
Yeah,
$1
it's not bad.
not
Decent
bad. I
money.
would have done that.
Wayne still loves his brother. They got along really well. He did say once he got in a really good right, and then his brother was like, okay, we're not boxing anymore. Anyway,
What?
after high school, he joined the Army National Guard, which he credits with making him a lot stronger, a lot tougher. He got married right after the National Guard. They had a son named Robert. Apparently, Robert was a little chunky baby because when he popped out, the doctor saw him and said, "This here's a Bubba." And they were like, "No, his name's Robert." And he's like, "No, this is Bubba." That's what the doctor said. But they still named him Robert, which I think he's probably grateful for that.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
The doctor's just telling them, no,
Yeah.
your name's wrong. This is
Sorry,
Bubba."
all fat children are named Bubba in this hospital. Wayne ended up getting divorced when Robert was still pretty young and says that the divorce completely shattered him, but he really wanted to be a good dad to his son. And on June 6, 2001, Wayne had been taking care of Robert, who's still really young. They were staying at Wayne's mom's house when he got a call from his brother Joel. And Joel told him that he was at Town Point, which is on New River, and it's a spot that the two grew up going to for fishing and crabbing. And to kind of explain this spot for you, imagine like you know in the South when you get water that's clear but also kind of brownish red because it has a lot of tannins in it. That's what this river looks like. It's really big and brown but also clear water and has these really wide beaches that are surrounded by like cypress trees and swamp. Really pretty little place to hang out. Anyway, his brother's hanging out there. And he says, "I got 2 crab pots in the water. You should come chill, come throw a frisbee with me and my wife." And Wayne's staying with his mom, and his mom says, "Go have fun. I'll watch Robert." Robert's taking a nap, so he can leave for a few hours. So Wayne gets his stuff together and he heads towards Town Point. And to get there, once you get to the end of the pavement, you have to kind of walk through miles of bush to get to this spot. It's pretty isolated, but it's a spot that they both really love to hang out. Joel's wife, Gloria, is there. She had set up a tent. And when Wayne got there, the two just kind of drink some beers. They hang out. They're talking on this sandy beach. They haven't gotten in the water. They're just kind of chilling. And the time passes pretty quickly. You know, when you're having fun, time can fly.
You know, that's the truth.
It is. Yeah, I should copyright that.
That's crazy. Oh, man. Wow.
So the time passes and Wayne's thinking, I should probably go back. Surely Robert's waking up from his nap by now. I left him with our mom. It's probably time for me to get back home and spend some time with my son. And because he's got a shared custody thing, time with his son is really precious to him. So he really wants to get back. He tells Joel, "Hey, I need to go." But Joel says, "Wait, before you leave, I got these 2 crab pots out in the water. Let's go pull them and check them." before you leave. And who can say no to that? You know, you guys
Not
can't
me.
say no to that.
I
If
would
you're
never.
crabbing, you can't turn down pulling a couple pots.
No,
No.
you cannot.
That's like the sirens in the Odyssey, you know?
the call.
If you got crab pots
Eat
in
it.
the water, you're not going away from those.
Right.
Mm.
Wayne does, you know, like those sailors in the Odyssey did when they heard the siren song. He goes. He says, all right, I'll go. And he has a bad feeling and something's telling him not to go in the water. And he's pretty hesitant. But then the other thing that you just can't say no to happens. His brother calls him a pussy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And if your brother calls you that, it's really hard to be like,
Because he doesn't really want to go.
yeah, he just kind of feels like he shouldn't go out in the water and he should go back home to his son.
You can't overuse it, though. Like, maybe his brother, like, hardly ever calls him that.
Yeah.
Because if he calls him it for, like, not
Everything.
running a red light and stuff,
Yeah.
it's like,
Then
all
you're like,
right, well,
whatever.
whatever.
Yeah.
If you, like, always, it works every single time. He's like, I'll run this red light.
Yeah. I love how your example of something very casual is something that is actually kind of extreme, just running a red light.
Yeah.
No, I
it's
wasn't
kind of a
tr-
big deal.
Yeah.
I was just saying, like, that's something he could call you a pussy for, you know? Like, as
Yeah.
a joke, like, run that red light, you pussy.
Which, you know, we shouldn't be calling people that anyways. It's just kind of an offensive thing to call anyone. He gives in to this peer pressure, and I think peer pressure from brothers is a really specific, very effective type of peer pressure. I think we've all probably done some things that we didn't want to do because our brothers peer pressured us into it. Is that correct?
Very.
I can think of a few.
Yeah, me too. The water of the beach was about waist deep for 100 meters out, kind of this sandbar almost. And the crab pots were about 50 meters out into that, and then about 50 meters apart. And when these two were about halfway to the pots, they heard a big splash, but figured it might just be Gloria throwing something in the water to scare them, like throwing a log or something in the water. So they kept moving out. They got a few more meters out in the water when suddenly Gloria started screaming, "Alligator, alligator, alligator." So if your car breaks down, you're going to take it to the mechanic to get it fixed. You know, it's something that you need. It's something that you use a lot. And it's not something that most people can fix by themselves. And really, if you're a man, you should probably think the same way about erectile dysfunction or ED. You might be kind of hesitant to seek help, but it's something that you can get fixed. It's something that you use, hopefully, as often as you'd like to use. And
As often as your car.
yeah, I don't know about that, but you can get access to personalized ED treatment without stepping outside your door with Hims. You don't need to really worry about this or make it a bigger deal than it needs to be.
I'm usually not going to use it outside my door in the first place, so it's good to keep it within
Well,
those walls.
I'm just saying it's really easy with Hims to get access to really good quality medical advice and to get access to medication that can help you with ED. And I've used Hims for like hair care, and I really like the company. They make things really simple, and they're changing men's healthcare by providing you with access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your couch. They have an access to a range of doctor-trusted ED treatments like chewable hard mints. Hard mints is an interesting term for that. Viagra, Cialis, and also just different generics for up to 95% cheaper discount on that medication. And this process is 100% online, so there's no need for uncomfortable doctor visits. No insurance is needed, and one low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. And there are thousands and thousands of people that use this service, and they love it. So you guys can start your free online visit today at hims.com/tooth. That's HIMS.com/tooth for your personalized ED treatment options. That's hims.com/tooth. And the products mentioned are chewable compound products which are not approved or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with the healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions do apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required, and the price varies based on product and subscription plan. We're going to talk a little bit about alligator biology. It's been a minute since we've done an episode completely devoted to them. Jeff, I think you did one last year about the guy who was collecting shark teeth and got attacked by an alligator.
Yeah.
But prior to that, I think our last main...
Voodoo fossils. on Instagram.
I think our last main before that was Tommy Woodward, which was one of our first episodes.
I did
with
one
alligators.
on that news story Mike brought up to the New Orleans
That's right. The flood.
hurricane.
When
Yeah.
it came, swam into that guy's backyard. That's crazy.
Was that a subscription episode? I think it was.
It's all just getting blurred in there.
Yeah. Anyway, let's start with some basic facts. So alligators are crocodilians, which means they're in the same order as crocodiles, caiman, gharials, and tomostomas, or false gharials. So gharials, and I might be pronouncing that wrong, I'm sorry if I am, they're the crocodiles that have the really skinny snout that sticks way out with the big teeth that are perfect for
I like
catching
those.
fish. Critically endangered animals, but they are members of the
I
same
guess
order.
I'll stop liking them.
There are two
Yeah.
living
Save
species.
yourself
of-
the heartbreak
yeah,
when they
exactly.
inevitably
just gonna-
die out.
Introduce people to new animals that are going to die out the next year.
Sad. No.
There's two living species of alligator. There's the American alligator and the Chinese alligator. And the Chinese alligator likely split from the American alligator about 33 million years ago, made its way over the Bering Land Bridge and into China.
What?
They're a much smaller alligator, and they are also critically endangered, with only a few hundred left in the wild. But as much as we'd like to, we're not here to talk about the Chinese alligator. We're going to talk about the American alligator.
America.
America.
Yeah. The bigger, more aggressive alligator, which, adds up.
America.
The alligator isn't on the Chinese zodiac, is it? You would know, Jeff. You did an episode on that.
It's
Do you
not.
remember?
It's
Oh.
not, but they actually think that the inspiration for like the Chinese dragon may have come from the Chinese alligator.
Oh, interesting.
So in a way, it could be kind of represented on the zodiac.
I don't know, Wes. I don't see too many alligators breathing fire.
No, I don't think that was the inspiration. More just like the teeth and yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Don't see a lot of alligators hoarding gold.
They do have teeth. You're right.
Yeah.
All right. So, like a lot of the animals we've talked about, especially ones that live in water, there are some unverified claims of absolutely massive alligators, much longer than 15 feet. And there are enough of
Ooh.
these claims that there was a study titled A Critical Analysis for Historical Size Record for the American Alligator. So, pretty much these authors were looking at some of these crazy claims of just alligators that were much bigger than any that we have on record. And specifically, they were looking at one from the late 1800s that said a 27-foot, 783-pound alligator had been caught in Louisiana.
That's
So
insane.
those two numbers don't match up very well is the thing. A 27-foot, 783-pound alligator. 783 pounds isn't that big for an alligator. 27 feet is huge. So this would be the skinniest alligator ever. It'd be like a
Yeah,
snake.
It'd be like Wimby,
Who's Wimby?
Wembanyama.
the-
Wembanyama.
NBA main
Oh.
prospect in San
Okay.
Antonio, but he's like super tall and skinny.
Yeah, it'd be like him. Anyway, they kind of put together this model that shows how weight should increase as size increases. And they showed that it's impossible that a 27-foot alligator would weigh that much. So they kind of made this claim seem like it was BS.
Yeah.
And as far as the record goes, the biggest one ever that was caught on record, I think was about 15 feet long and weighed a bit over 1,000 pounds.
Okay.
So really, they don't get to these huge lengths that you sometimes hear reported in the news. And averages
It's like
for
2 cars back to back.
15 feet. Is that right? How long is a car? A car is a bit
No, I would-
longer than that.
A bit longer. Yeah.
Car and a quarter back to back.
A car and a quarter?
1 car and then a quarter of a car.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like 2 Fiats maybe.
I feel like 15 feet was a really good bus reference, and you just skipped cars for some reason. But sure.
A small bus.
Okay, so averages for mature males is more in the 8 to 10 foot range, weights of like 200 to 300 pounds, and averages on females tend to be more like 6 to 8 feet long and about 100 to 200 pounds, but they can get much bigger and much heavier than that. And it's hard to get a good average because they are so widespread, and they get a lot bigger or smaller depending on the area they live in and the habitat they live in. And overall, body size for them tends to get smaller as you move further north in their habitat. So we're going to play a quick game.
Kind of the same with Americans.
As you move north?
If you go south, they get big.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is kind of true.
The obesity
Yeah.
stats do bear that out.
There's a scientific principle too, and I forget what it's called. In mammals, as you move further north and south, they tend to get more compact, but also heavier. I don't know if that really applies to reptiles or not. Okay, so we're going to play a quick game. Each of you are going to name a state where alligators can currently be found, and you'll get a point for naming a correct state.
Oh.
And you'll also get a bonus point if you name the state that's still on the board that has the highest population of alligators. Whoever has the most points at the end of this will get a $20 mystery gift that I'm going to send to your house.
Whoa.
How many states are there? Do you want to say?
Yes, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 states.
Okay.
And if you miss it, like if you get the state wrong, it's going to go to the other person. Okay?
Got it.
Sure.
Let's see. Randomly, I'm going to pick who's going first. Mike.
Whoa.
Yeah. So you're trying to guess the state that has them and the state that has the most.
I'm going to go with Florida as my first number one overall pick.
You got 1 point. You did not get the state that has the most.
Dang it.
I'll go with Louisiana.
Correct. 2
No.
points for Jeff.
That's what I was.
That's
Whatever.
all right.
I don't even
Mike,
care.
you can. So Louisiana and Florida have both been named.
That would have been my first overall pick, by the way, too. Just
Okay.
because I felt like he's trying to trick us with Florida.
Yeah,
Florida-
no, I'm having fun though. Still, this is great.
Florida is number 2 for population.
Dang
just
it.
so you know, it's off the board. Mike,
I think
you're
I
up
remember you
next.
even have told us that before.
I think
I'm a
we did
real
this, yeah.
goofball here. I'm still having fun though.
We
This
did
is
something similar.
just having game time with my friends.
Okay, you're up.
I'll go with South Carolina.
Correct. It is a state. It is not the state that has the next most highest
No, I
population.
forgot that was still
I
a
think
there.
we're
thing.
2
just
points.
naming
No,
states
We're not.
now, right?
We're not. We're,
Okay.
Okay.
We're still trying to get the highest population that's still on the board.
I'll go with Georgia.
Correct. You have a state. It's not the highest that's on the board. The next highest is still on the board.
Texas.
Correct. So now it is 4-3.
Who's winning?
Well, Mike is
Oh, Mike
winning, but
is
he
up
did go
one.
first. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Texas.
So just so you know, it goes Louisiana, Florida, Texas, Georgia. Those have all been named. Oh, and then the next one has also been named too. South Carolina is the next state that has the most. So, Jeff, can you guess what's next that has the most?
Give me Bama.
Alabama.
want Bama.
Correct.
Oh, Bama.
So that's 2 points. You got 5. Mike, you still have 4. The next 4 states are still on the board as far as the population size.
Mississippi.
Correct. You have 6
Oh.
points. Jeff, you have 5 points. Can you say the next one?
I want to go with Arkansas.
Got it.
Oh, wow.
7 points. Mike,
North Carolina.
good job. 8 points. Jeff, to win it all, the
Uh-oh.
last state.
Oh man, I almost need a map. What else down in there?
You've named all the states in the deep south already.
Unlike all the ones that have ocean.
Mm-hmm. Well, in the deep south, yes. Ocean and alligators aren't really connected, so
Is there alligators in Virginia?
there used to be, but there aren't anymore. Every once in a while, one wanders in, but that's not the last state. Mike?
Tennessee.
No,
Missouri.
What is it?
no. Just keep naming states. Whoever gets
Oh,
it's gonna
really?
win.
Mississippi?
Yeah.
Or we said
Kentucky.
We already
Missis-
said Mississippi. Nope, not Kentucky. Whoever gets
Oklahoma?
it first. There it is.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mike, you won. Yep.
Oh.
All right. So the states are Louisiana with the most, then Florida, Texas, Georgia, South Carolina, Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, North Carolina, and Oklahoma with about 100 alligators.
Wow.
So those are the states where they can be found. They do occasionally wander into other states like Virginia and Tennessee, but those are the ones with existing populations. They make some pretty cool noises. There's some of the more vocal reptiles, and they make a number of different vocalizations throughout their lives. When they're newborn, they make a really
one.
unique noise that kind of sounds like a chirp or a weird laser gun,
Laser
which I'm going
gun.
to play for both of you right now.
Wait, do it yourself first.
Pew, 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 pew. So that is the sound of baby
It sounds
alligators.
like throwing a rock on ice.
on ice. It really does.
Or at one of those water towers. Have you ever done
Yeah.
that? You probably
yeah.
shouldn't do that. That's what it sounds like.
I mean, it'd be a good idea if there's a fire. Just
Break
the
the
water
throw
tower.
water tower.
Water tower.
Okay.
Sure. They make that noise to tell their mom to dig them out of the nest. That's when they first make it. And then they continue it in their early life as a way to communicate with their mother and as a distress call. One of the other more interesting noises that adult alligators make is what's called a bellow. Bellowing is more common, or at least more noticeable in males. Both sexes actually can do it. And they bellow in order to communicate, to attract mates, and to kind of assert their dominance over other alligators. And when male alligators bellow, they raise their head and their tail out of the water, they force air into their lungs, and when they expel that air, it makes a really low frequency roaring sound, and that constitutes a bellow. They also make this sub-audible vibration through an infrasonic signal.
Big opera singers, they like kind of got screwed over a bit, I feel like.
Why?
Like a big old hefty opera singer, because like they can bellow, they're like pretty big. Any other animal, that'd be like their number one mating partner. I'm sure they still get girls, but I'm just saying. Who was it? John Krasinski?
You're going with that.
Just one sexiest man in the world.
Yeah.
I don't think he could bellow nearly as good as those guys.
Yeah, you're probably right. Bellowing isn't like a sign of fitness in humans, but in alligators it is.
Yeah.
So if there's any big opera singers out there, big fat opera singers that need someone to talk to, Jeff understands.
I
your
sympathize.
struggle.
Just hit him up in the DMs with an avatar of sexy legs.
Yeah, serious. He'll respond to you immediately. So males also make a subaudible vibration through an infrasonic signal that causes the water to vibrate and dance above their back. And a somewhat recent study showed that the resonance frequency of an alligator's bellow is a near perfect indicator of their overall size. So the hypothesis behind this study is that through bellowing, alligators can pretty much say, hey, I'm this big, so you should mate with me or you should stay away from me. You know,
Cool.
It's kind of just a way for them to tell other alligators how big they are by their bellow.
It's like when I bragged about benching 200 pounds. Like, that's how big I am.
Sure.
If you're
that's how much you
interested in
can
that.
bench. Yeah. They're incredibly opportunistic predators. They eat a wide variety of food, including fish, mammals, birds, reptiles, crustaceans, invertebrates, and even fruit. There's a study that shows they help propagate certain fruit trees by eating fruit.
I like that. I always like that when they're part of the environment like that.
Animals you wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
And like when meat eaters eat fruit, I always kind of like to.
They're actually ecosystem engineers too. They create little pools that bring in a lot of water, and they are really important animals for where they're found.
Maybe Jordan Peterson should incorporate some fruit into that. I heard he's on the carnivore diet where he literally only eats meat. Yeah. I'm just going to say eat an apple every once in a while, Jordan. But what do I know?
When you see, not to attack any specific diet or anything, but when you see those influencers that are really into like the carnivore diets or like the Liver King and all those people, they look like there's just something simmering in them, like they're about to like explode.
They always look like very red
and glistening.
Exactly.
It's like you can see the cholesterol dripping off of them.
One other thing about alligators, they have one of the highest bite forces in the animal kingdom, which means they can bite through hard substances like turtle shell or mammal bone, but they kind of have a kryptonite.
Dude, what are turtle shells even good for? All these animals just biting through.
It's true.
Good for breakdancing.
Yeah, they are good for breakdancing. But that hard bite force comes with kind of a kryptonite. Do you guys know what it is? They've got those really good muscles for closing their mouth.
It's hard to open them, right?
Yeah, they got really weak.
But does that really get them in trouble with anything but humans?
Not really. No, and that's probably why they evolved that way.
Able to like,
we
like,
figured
look
it
at
out.
this huge alligator, and I can
hold its mouth,
pinch its mouth closed.
Yeah, their teeth are designed for gripping rather than chewing or tearing. So they'll often either swallow their prey whole or they'll stash larger prey, allowing it time to kind of rot and soften, and then they'll tear off smaller pieces that they can swallow whole. Attacks on humans are really rare, especially considering that we have somewhere around 5 million alligators in the South. And most attacks are a result of people either harassing or feeding alligators. Unprovoked attacks do happen sometimes, and they generally happen when someone is swimming, and the alligator approaches that person with its head above the water. And there's a reason for that, and I think it's really interesting. If an alligator's head is above the water, its eyes are completely above the water. So they're not seeing anything below the water. And if you're swimming and say you have just your head above the water or your shoulders above the water, you don't look that big to an alligator. You look like something that it can probably pretty easily attack and subdue because it's not seeing the majority of your body. So often when they do attack people in the water, the thought is that it's kind of mistaken identity, where they think they're biting something that they can easily handle, and they realize afterwards that they can't, but often then they're like already engaged and kind of in that predator mode.
That's
so
like
it's hard
pretty
to
much
discern them.
exactly how it happened to William when he was collecting the teeth.
Yeah, exactly.
Weird Al would be safe if he were swimming around. It always
got
seems
big
like
old
he
head.
has just a huge head to me when I see pictures of him. The bigger the head, the better. That's all I'm saying.
That's true. Fluff your hair out,
Bigger brain, probably.
You should be cautious about swimming in fresh water where alligators live because you can trigger that kind of predatory response.
Donovan Mitchell, Jeff, he'd be safe.
His head is
I got a
normal.
big head for my body especially.
Wes, your head is huge. It's crazy, actually.
All right, so attacks on humans. I could find data on 41 fatalities from alligators since 1957. During that time frame, there were also a few hundred injuries. Each source I found was reporting different numbers, so I do think there was somewhere between 300 and 400 injuries since 1957 to the present. It's important to note that a lot of those injuries are from alligators that had been fed or provoked. So while they do attack and kill the occasional person, it's nowhere near the number that crocodiles do.
I remember when I was little, and things have probably changed. Maybe, I don't know. I don't want to say for sure. But when I was little, we were living in Georgia, and my dad heard about this good spot to see alligators up in South Carolina. So we just drove up there, and it was a totally unregulated thing. There was like a hole in a fence that people could just like sneak down a little slope to. And people were just like throwing stuff into the water, like children, unsupervised. It was really, really crazy to see.
And there's alligators in there?
Yeah, there's tons of alligators. Just
they
knew
weren't
that was the
throwing
spot to
children into the water, though. Children
No.
were throwing things into the water.
I didn't see any children being thrown, but you have to imagine accidentally every once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't a hard animal to see. If you want to see alligators in the wild, just go to the Everglades and you will see alligators in the wild. I can almost 100% guarantee it. There's a couple places you can stop where you will see them. And
What
we're
are
lucky
the
for that.
cases they wouldn't see him, you think?
If you just drove the main road and never stopped at like any water sources, then yeah, you might not see them.
Or if
But
you're
if you
blind.
If you're hard of seeing.
But if you do the tiniest bit of research, you can find places where you have almost a guaranteed chance of seeing alligators.
Maybe if you're like a baby, you wouldn't really see him.
Or you might not just register.
Jim Harbaugh
You might see
would.
it. Who's that?
Harbaugh?
Oh,
The Chargers coach who said he remembers like the day he was born and driving home from the
oh
hospital.
yeah, he would remember it.
I
He'd
believe
see the
him.
alligator, and he'd know what it is.
Yeah.
All right. So Wayne and Joel, his brother, are waist deep in
He'd
the
probably
water.
remember the doctor trying to name him something else that his parents didn't want. John? That's not a John. That's a
Bubba.
That's a
That's
Bubba.
Bubba. Tooth and Claw is brought to you by Element. Element helps anyone stay hydrated without sugar or other dodgy ingredients found in popular electrolyte and sports drinks. We all love Element. Wes, I don't know how he keeps up with how much Element we have, but he does. He's
I do.
down in those things.
I've had to order it.
It really is just your body telling you, like, hey, I like this. You know, keep at it, buddy.
And my taste buds. My taste buds tell me they like it too.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying.
Element is a zero sugar electrolyte drink mix and sparkling electrolyte water born from the growing body of research revealing that optimal health outcomes occur at sodium levels 2 to 3 times government recommendations.
Can't trust the government. you
Never.
know?
Especially like those health pyramids that are just out the window for me.
Yeah. We're not supposed to eat like 50 servings of grains every day.
They like had like ice cream on the pyramid, I
Yeah.
feel like. Dozens of professional sports teams and players stay salty with Element. I saw Bradley Beal's commercial with Element, and he's His mom was like giving him salt just to drink with water as a kid while he was playing basketball. So he definitely loves Element because it tastes great. Right now, Element is offering a free sample pack with any purchase. That's 8 single serving packs free with any Element order. This is a great way to try all 8 flavors or share Element with a salty friend. Get yours at drinkelement.com/tooth. This deal is only available through our link. You must go to drinklmnt.com/tooth. Also, try the new Element Sparkling. I have mine right here. It's delicious. A bold 16-ounce can of sparkling electrolyte water. And one thing I love with sponsors when they do this is Element is totally risk-free. If you don't like it, you can give it to someone else and they'll give you your money back. So there's no risk. Try it out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great when you get a gift from someone that you're allowed to return if you don't really want it or like it. I love when brands do that. Wayne and his brother Joel are waist deep in the water. They're about 30 meters from shore, and Joel's wife Gloria is screaming that she sees an alligator in the water. Wayne looks around, and at first he doesn't see anything, but then he sees a large 10.5-foot reptile speeding toward him in the water, and it was moving so fast he could see it leaving a wake behind it. He started running through the waist-deep water, trying to get to shore, but that's really slow going. If you've ever tried to run through waist-deep water, it's not very fast.
Well, especially, I feel like those type of waterways get a lot of mud on the bottom.
Yeah, it's not like he's running over rocks. He's trudging through mud. And he sees that the alligator is quickly closing in on them. He looks at his brother, one of the people he loves most in the world, and he makes the decision that he would rather the alligator come after him than after his brother. So he starts splashing aggressively in the water, trying to draw the alligator toward him.
Wow.
It works. The alligator starts coming toward him, but then as it goes towards Wayne, Joel starts doing the same thing. He starts splashing, and the alligator turns back toward him again.
Oh, they're making it dizzy. Good move.
Both brothers don't want the alligator to get their brother, and they're taking turns splashing and drawing the alligator back and forth. And this actually kind of seems to be working. Like, it's kind of confusing the alligator. They're about 10 meters from shore, and suddenly the alligator kind of realizes what's going on, and it focuses in on Wayne, and it lunges forward toward the water.
The alligator lunged. It was out to get me.
Wayne puts his arm out to try and push off the alligator, but it turns, opens his mouth, and Wayne suddenly sees, in slow motion as he describes it, these jaws full of teeth clamping down on his arm. And he remembers in detail the feeling of these teeth puncturing through his flesh on his arm and the sensation of his arm bones crunching and snapping under the pressure of the jaws.
Jeez. Stiff arm's a good move, too. That's too bad that the alligator had its mouth open.
Yeah. It was hissing as it bit into his arm, and then he, over the hiss, heard a loud snap as his arm completely broke, and he saw the water turn red around the head of the alligator as his blood started gushing out. With his time in the National Guard and countless hours out in the outdoors, he'd always felt really strong and capable and thought that he could kind of take on anything. But he remembers feeling completely helpless and out of control with his arm in this alligator's mouth. And that feeling intensified when this alligator started rolling. So you guys remember what a death roll is, right?
Oh, yeah.
So do you remember kind of the purposes of a death roll for an alligator?
I know that they're like trying to drown a person, and also, like you said, they don't really chew. They need to swallow things, so that's how they rip off chunks of what they're eating.
Right. So my thought, and again, I'm not an alligator expert, a biologist, but I do know a fair amount about them. I've trapped them in the wild. I've tagged them. I've done a few things with alligators. My thought is that this alligator was probably realizing that this was like a bigger prey item than it had thought. And it's now just trying to rip his arm off because that is like enough for it to kind of leave with and be happy with, you know? So I do think at this point, it's just trying to separate his arm from his body.
That is an interesting thought because you did you brought up the fact that they see us as a lot smaller than we really are. And then it's probably a big surprise to them when we're just a massive thing. And all of a sudden they're contending with something that's pretty equally sized to them. So I'm sure they're afraid too.
It seems too that wasn't like its intention until the person stuck his arm out as it was like lunging, you know?
Yeah, and we'll talk about this a little later. I kind of think that this might have been a defensive kind of territorial attack to start. But then once it had his arm in his mouth, it was like, okay, I'm going to try and rip this off and eat it.
Right.
Anyway, Wayne felt himself get lifted off his feet. He was violently rolled through the water. And then suddenly the alligator stopped and simply held him underwater. And he looked up through the water, through his own blood, and he could see the trees on the shore of the river, and he could even see the faint shapes of his brother, Joel, and his wife, Gloria, running around trying to figure out how to help him. He tried his best to hold his breath, but it was really hard, and that makes a lot of sense to me. It's hard to hold your breath anyway, and if you're being held under the water by an alligator, that's got to be insanely difficult.
Just made you do like a whole flip in the air.
Yeah.
I always think about that when we have these stories of people that have to hold their breath. Like, yeah, if you are really focusing and whatnot, you can probably hold your breath for a couple minutes. But when someone pushes your head underwater, you feel like you need air immediately. It's this like primal need.
Go run
air.
like a 100-yard sprint and then try to hold your breath.
Hold your breath. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, so it is a lot trickier than just holding your breath. But he realized he might die if he didn't fight back. So he starts punching the alligator, but he said it felt like hitting a tank. And his hand is just bouncing off of these osteoderms on the alligator's back.
He was a Navy SEAL, right?
Yeah, no, he wasn't.
You would know
SEAL.
it's like punching a tank.
Army National Guard.
Army, okay. Yeah. That's right. Army don't punch tanks. Navy SEALs do.
If you'll remember, though, alligators have osteoderms, which are essentially like bony plates right under their skin. They have this built-in armor. And when I've caught them, they really do feel so much harder than you ever would imagine.
You got to go
like
for gut
bones
punches.
On their back. Yeah. For what punches?
Gut punches.
Yeah. And even
their liver shot.
Like ventral scales are really tough too. They're a really well-built animal. They're hard to hurt.
Yeah.
But in the response to this struggle, the alligator pushes Wayne a little deeper in the water and actually holds him down against the river bottom. And Wayne looks out into the water and he gets a good look at his mangled left arm. And he remembers being able to see tendons, bone, and strips of flesh just kind of floating and splayed out in the water. And he realized his arm is so ripped up that he could hardly believe it was his own arm.
Wait, how did he get out of the water?
He's not. He's underwater looking at his arm.
Oh, I see.
In the water. Yeah. And then the alligator starts rolling again. The pain starts setting in, and Wayne feels his strength leaving, and he starts realizing that this is how he's going to die. And when he's about to let go, the face of his son starts flashing through his head. And he knows that if he dies...
Bubba.
Yeah. Little Bubba Robert, his son would grow up without a dad. So the alligator's carrying Wayne further out in the river, and he starts choking on the water. But in that moment, when things were looking as bad as they possibly could be, he suddenly feels an overwhelming sense of peace, and he swears that he hears a voice telling him to stay completely still. So he does it. He goes completely still, and the alligator, maybe thinking that it had finally killed its prey, brought Wayne up to the surface, where he took a huge, rasping breath.
Wow.
The alligator then starts pushing Wayne toward the shore, and Wayne knew a bit about alligators, and he thought maybe the alligator thought he was dead and was searching for a log or somewhere to stash and cache his body. So it was probably looking for a place to cache him, and Wayne realized that. And as he was heading toward the shore with the alligator, he turned his head again toward his arm, which was still in its mouth, and he saw that it was now so shredded that not much was keeping his forearm attached to the rest of his arm, and that he might actually lose it to the alligator.
He's going to go 127 hours on it?
Yeah, just pulls out his pocket knife and cuts it
Drinks
off.
his own
Or
pee.
use the alligator to cut off the arm?
He didn't do that. Wayne really didn't want to lose his left arm.
Drink
so he
the
tried
alligator's
really...
pee, maybe.
Yeah, he wouldn't. I don't think he would have the problem with water.
That's good.
He tries to pull his left arm out of the alligator's mouth with his right arm, and in a flash, the alligator changes its grip, open and closes its mouth down now on his right arm and forearm as well. And he hears the bones snap
So
in that
both
arm as
arms
well.
are in its mouth?
Both arms. He has 2 broken arms now, and they're both in the alligator's mouth.
Oh, no.
And he's realizing that any minute this gator might start rolling again, and it could try and drown him again. So he's bracing himself for the worst, when suddenly he feels Joel's arms wrap around him, and his brother's trying to pull him out of the water and away from the alligator.
Wow. That's like the ultimate Chinese finger trap. You know, those little things where you're like both your fingers get stuck.
And you got to push them together. Yeah. Jeff gave those to our nephew and nieces, and they sure had a time with them. They just shredded them.
Rip them.
Yeah. Ben's fingers were stuck and he just couldn't get them out, and he was like getting mad at me for giving it to him.
Well, and Ellie just tore it apart immediately. And she's like, I figured
the
it
move.
out.
Ellie's smart.
Yeah. Anyway, so Joel is inadvertently, he started this game of tug of war over Wayne with this alligator, and he's pulling on Wayne. He's punching the alligator. It's really not having much effect, but he is able to gain some ground and pull Wayne and the alligator in closer to shore, where Gloria was waiting. And guess what Gloria had? That's right. She had a big old stick. She's ready to hit this alligator with the stick.
Old Teddy Roosevelt.
Yep. She started clubbing the alligator with the stick and then pushed one end of the stick into its eye and just shoved down with all of her force.
Oh, nice.
And that was finally enough to get this gator to release its grip, and Wayne and Joel didn't waste any time scrambling away from the alligator and up on shore. And Joel had a second to catch his breath, and then he looked over at his brother Wayne's arm and lost his breath again. On his left arm, both of the bones were clearly visible, sticking out of his forearm, his radius and his ulna. They're broken in several places, and they were just sticking out of this ragged flesh and tendons. And then his right forearm was also torn open, and at least one bone was broken and visible there as well. It kind of looked like he'd put both of his forearms into an industrial meat grinder.
Ugh.
They were 7.5 miles from the nearest main road, and Wayne was thinking he might still bleed out, and Joel agreed with him. It was kind of funny because he said, like, I was thinking I was going to die, and Joel was telling me I was going to die. Which, I feel like usually the person helping is like, it's going to be okay, don't worry. And it sounds like Joel was like, oh, you're going to die.
Oh, that's like good reverse psychology for someone dying, though. Because I do feel like when you're like, don't worry, you're going to make it, the person's kind of like, I don't think I'm going to make it. But if you're like, you're about to die, the person might be like, F you, dude. I'm not.
Especially with your brother. You're like, no, what? Shut up, dude. You don't know.
That's smart.
It is. Speaking of smart, they knew they were going to need a tourniquet, and they looked around for a good thing that could serve as a tourniquet. And Gloria took off her bikini top, and they used it as a tourniquet to stop the bleeding.
Wow.
So maybe this was just the most elaborate plan ever for Wayne to finally see his sister-in-law topless. Who knows? I do know. That's not what it was. Definitely
Who
not.
knows?
Crazy joke.
Yeah.
But I liked it.
And remember, the tourniquet, tight it, keep it tight, and don't
keep
loosen it
tight.
at all. Just
Don't
keep it
loosen
tight.
it for any
Like,
reason.
bra
We were
probably
wrong
is
about that.
Pretty good thing to make a tourniquet out of.
Yeah,
you know?
it was
Seems
kind
like
of
it would work.
elasticy, so it worked really well.
What's that movement called? Free the
nipple?
nipple or something?
I don't know. They had some coolers with beers, so they had a lot of ice, and they packed his arm in ice. Joel reached for his cell phone. This is 2001, so not too many people have cell phones, but Joel did have one. He reached for it and realized it had been in his pocket during this entire water rescue. So both
Nokia
brothers
might be all right.
Both brothers were sure it wasn't going to work, but he managed to get a single call in to 911, and then
Those
the phone
old
died.
phones.
Yeah, it died after that and wouldn't work again.
Oh,
but he
wow.
did get one call out.
That's so lucky.
The ambulance they got a hold of was going to take a long time to get to them. They knew that after talking to 911. But there had been some Marines training in the area, and they had actually heard the emergency distress call over the scanner. So not the call to 911, but I think the resulting calls of them trying to contact paramedics and stuff. The Marines had picked up that chatter, and they went to where Wayne had been attacked. They showed up, they helped stabilize him, and then they helped him get him to the nearest pavement where a Marine ambulance showed up and drove him to the nearest hospital.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
That'd be
so these
crazy
Marines-
if you're them, like you're just waiting for the ambulance and then a bunch of Marines pop out of the trees.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those Marines wouldn't have a problem punching a tank, I bet.
No, they could have. Yeah, they would just punch that alligator into oblivion. Anyway, the doctors and nurses said his arms were way worse than anything they had ever seen. They were almost certain that they were going to have to amputate his left arm. Wayne ended up staying in the hospital for 17 days, and during that recovery, he had over a dozen surgeries. But doctors were able to save his arms. And they did a skin graft to try and make it look a little bit better from his leg. They took some skin. But he actually says the skin graft was maybe the most painful thing he experienced.
Weird.
I have a photo of it. It's pretty gnarly. Mike, are you prepared to see it?
Yeah, those always look so bad when it like first happens, but then I think it ends up looking okay. But at the start, it's like that doesn't work. What are we doing?
People got mad at me once for making Mike see Timothy Treadwell's photos.
I didn't want to see
Mike,
it, dude.
Are you prepared to see
I
the
consent.
skin graft? Okay, you consent to see it. Thank you. All right, so you can see they took it's like a
lawnmower patch of
inch and a half wide and probably 9-inch patch of skin just from the top of his leg. And in this photo, it just looks like it's like red and raw. And they attach
that's crazy.
that to
It's
his
not
arm.
bandaged.
Yeah.
That
It's
looks
pretty
awful.
gnarly. Yeah.
Ugh.
His arm too, just to describe it, it's like his wrist and his elbow look normal size, but then the middle is just missing a good deal of the mass. And to this day, that's what his arm looks like. It kind of just looks like an hourglass.
Like
it's
a
pretty crazy.
Frankenstein arm, kind of.
Pretty rough, but he is really happy not to have lost his arm, obviously. He does credit Joel and Gloria with saving his life. He also thinks learning how to take a punch and like be tough as a kid helped him be tough enough to survive this attack. And Joel actually broke his thumb hitting the alligator, his brother, when he was punching it, trying to get it to release. He did break his thumb.
How long did he stay in the hospital?
I don't know. Do you think he just kept saying like, well, Wayne, it wasn't just you.
Yeah.
I also did break my thumb. And you embarrassed my wife.
Yeah.
Wayne wasn't strong enough to hold his son right after the surgeries, and he let that really motivate him to go really hard on his physical therapy because he really wanted to be able to hold and pick up his son again. And 2 broken arms and plus all this like skin grafting and stuff, that's rough. That'd be really hard to recover from.
Yeah. I like how big a part his newborn son played in this story. Just his face appearing in his brain when he was under the water. It's really cool. I like that.
Wayne's, he's a really good guy. I really, as I was watching his interview, I could just feel some people, you just get that sense of like kindness emanating from them. And I could feel that with him. You can tell he's like a good person. He really cared about being a good dad. And the alligator was killed and the beach was close to swimming. But he did say that he didn't blame this alligator at all. They think it might have been a female alligator defending a nest. And Wayne just kind of said, they're animals. Like they do what comes naturally to them. And I was in its habitat. So I did really like Wayne.
Did they even catch any crabs?
I don't know if they caught any crabs. Yeah, it's a good question.
It's kind of like life. We choose what waters we go in. I won't choose to go at Town Point no more. I choose to go to the pool. There ain't no alligators in the pool.
All right, guys. Well, before we go on to our categories, let's talk about our ouchies. What do you guys think?
Yeah, we probably should.
Should we do like a refresher that I feel like I always need to say this just because I give numbers that people are like, that's insane. Yeah. But this is just based off of like the worst animal attacks ever. Right. So every number is like pretty bad.
Yeah.
Except
for me,
1.
Like for me, a 10 is the standard is Cynthia Dussel-Bacon, who got both her arms chewed off by a black bear. Had to deal with a lifetime of trauma after that. So
hours and hours of suffering through an attack, and then everything that comes with that afterward.
You know what though? I think I'm going to give this one a 9.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one.
I think like for someone to like live after an animal attack, he's got a lot of damage to have to deal with the rest of his life from this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go with an 8. I think. No, I don't know. 9 sounds maybe Right. 8.5. Do we do half points?
Yeah,
I don't
we
know
can
if
do
there's any
halves.
rules.
Sure.
Mine
around
was
here,
an
but
8 when it just had the one arm, but then once it got both arms.
You know what? The thing that pushes it up to a 9 for me maybe is the picture of his leg. That looked
Yeah,
just so
it's so
bad.
bad.
Just a
Yeah.
strip of his leg.
The doctors are just like, you know what? Let's fuck up his leg too.
Yeah.
The doctor's like, here, bite this stick. We're going to take some skin off your leg. It just feels like he wasn't on pain meds. He didn't have bandages.
Yeah, it was a little rough. I'm going to go 8. I think it was really bad. And I think the trauma of it all, being held underwater by an alligator, having both arms broken. But
Almost drowned.
for me, a 9 is like someone that can't walk away from their attack.
Yeah,
And like
maybe you're right.
a 10 is like either someone that's just horrifically mauled or killed. So this is an 8 for me. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I'll go with 8 too. You got me.
Yeah.
You got me,
Cool.
Wes.
To me, the survivors are worse than people who die for like how much it hurt. Because you
Yeah, it
gotta
depends
live
on
with it.
how long it takes for them to die and stuff. But I agree. I think the mental trauma should be put into that too.
So 2024, we did a lot of international traveling, right, guys?
We did.
And you know, I struggle pretty badly, especially on the return trip with jet lag. I'm kind of going through it right now, inexplicably. It's been a while since my last flight.
It's insane that you just gave yourself jet lag for
It's
no
crazy.
reason recently.
I've really needed help sleeping, and that's where Beam's Dream Powder comes in. And you guys, I'm a pretty big fan of this. That's why I'm so excited to talk about Beam's Dream Powder, a science-backed, healthy nighttime blend for sleep that is actually clinically shown to improve sleep and have you wake up refreshed. And it's this nice little concoction. It's really cozy, actually. It's like a little hot chocolate kind of drink. Is
Yeah,
what
it's
I
got like a
compare it
cinnamon
to.
flavor.
Yeah,
It's
a little
nice.
cinnamon, nutmeggy, something going on. There's a couple of different flavors I know.
I like
but
the brownie batter one.
Oh, it's so good. I actually really do love it. Other sleep aids can cause next day grogginess, but Dream contains a powerful all natural blend of reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, alpigenin, apigenin, and melatonin to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up refreshed. And honestly, within the half hour of drinking it, I feel just a thorough sense of coziness, of comfort, like I'm ready to just lay down and drift off to sleep. I love it. The ultimate sleep refresh for the new year. Try Beam's best-selling Dream Powder and get up to 40% off for a limited time when you go to shopbeam.com/tooth and use code TOOTH at checkout. That's shopbeam.com/tooth and use code TOOTH for up to 40% off.
All right, let's move on to our categories. So the first one I asked you guys is a favorite brother rescue scene from media, from movies or TV. A favorite scene where brothers are rescuing each other.
I'm going to go with It's a Wonderful Life, the opening scene where George Bailey jumps in the frozen pond to save his brother.
Yeah.
Just the start of a beautiful brother ship, if that's a word. That's the new Mario and Luigi game. Brothership? That's not a word.
Oh, yeah, I don't think so. Brotherhood?
Brotherhood, I guess. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But I can't not shout out when Pollux jumps in on the fight in the prison in Face Off to help
That's
Castor.
true.
He
Yeah.
gets involved. I always really like that
that's
part.
a good one.
I kind of forget because he's always treated as the kid brother who can't do anything for himself. He even gets his shoes tied for him by Castor.
Yeah.
So when he jumps in that
He
fight,
can,
I'm always like,
make a
yeah,
nuke.
Pollux can do it. He can fight for
Yeah.
himself too. Sometimes.
I love
He
when-
can't tie his shoes, but he could
Yeah.
make a nuke.
right.
I love
But
when
it's-
two brothers are evil too. Like they're both
Yeah.
just like, yeah, we're both going to be crazy criminals.
Terrible criminals.
Yeah.
That one doesn't count though because it wasn't actually Castor.
That's true.
That's true.
It was
It
John
switched
Travolta.
races. Yeah.
Yeah. Jeff, what's your answer?
I had Scar and Mufasa. If you watch it in reverse, then
good
Scar's
point.
just saving Mufasa.
Okay.
But also I had from Friday Night Lights, the TV show, when the Riggins brothers, they have like their auto shop,
Yeah.
and then the older brother is people are stealing cars and he's breaking them down for parts.
Yeah.
And then the cops come
shop.
and chop shop. And Tim Riggins, he doesn't know. He's just he's like happy for the first time ever. But then the cops come and he's like, you know what, brother? You're about to have your son. I'll go to jail for you. And his brother's like,
That's
I
a good
love you,
brother.
man.
Yeah.
I love you so much. God damn.
Texas forever. I'm gonna pick Legends of the Fall. Just rewatched it. One of my favorite directors, Ed Zwick.
Well, they don't really save the brother.
No, but he tries. And there's
They
a
get
rescue
vengeance.
scene where little Samuel is caught in the barbed wire, and the Germans really slowly are setting up their machine gun to mow him down. And Brad Pitt sees it, charges out, jumps the barrier, shoots the Germans dead, but they still manage to shoot Samuel first. But then he gets to his brother as he's dying and gets to say goodbye. And otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to say goodbye. So at least he gets to do that. And then,
Should
he
be
gets
said, too,
revenge,
that
scalps them all.
of our family, I'm the youngest, and Wes is the middle.
Tristan.
So he would be Brad Pitt, and I would be
Yeah.
the one dying in the
Yeah.
barbed wire. In
And
this
Tristan's also
situation.
obsessed with grizzly bears, you know? So,
Mhm.
There
just-
you go.
but Samuel was everyone's favorite, and you're everyone's
Yeah.
favorite, Jeff. So it all adds up. All right. Next category, favorite
I
thing to
mean-
do with your brothers.
Samuel wasn't even his girlfriend's favorite.
Yeah, but she was, but she didn't realize it yet. She just got
Yeah,
seduced.
she had that
by
little
Tristan.
scene with Tristan
Yeah.
before he
Yeah.
even died.
He seduced her though. He's a bad brother.
Yeah.
All
What
right.
was the question?
Favorite thing to do with your brothers. We all got brothers. Me and Jeff only have brothers. Mike,
Me
you
and
got
Wes will have the
one
same
sister.
answer.
Yeah, I do think we will, but you can say it.
Say it.
Fly fishing.
Yeah,
I think
it is my favorite thing.
I think it's like where we're all the most equals too. We all are like pretty decent at dry fly fishing, especially like
Yeah.
we have favorite spots. All of us kind of have our own unique styles, but we're all like pretty capable of catching some fish, and it's just nice being in the Montana wilderness, three brothers catching some fish.
Yeah. I think you're a little bit better than me, but I do think we're all pretty
I would
close.
say
Yeah.
that.
You're like
Yeah.
a pro. People hire
Yeah.
you to go do it with them.
I guided, but it was like a very different type of fly fishing. Like dry fly fishing, I wouldn't say I'm any better than Wes.
Mm.
Mike, what's your answer?
I'm going to go. So I'm actually going to split it up because me and my two brothers each have our own like things that we do with each other. So my brother Nate and I, most recently we've been doing some Muay Thai, some working out in a gym. That's been really, really fun. Super, super hard. But we also just love going out, especially for sushi, just finding a place to go out and eat some lunch together. And then my brother Garrett, the oldest brother, we started a new annual tradition of watching all the Matrix movies together because we're the only two people in the world that like the sequels as much as each other. So that's been
Yeah.
a really fun thing to connect over. And we like, as we're doing it, we'll talk about the philosophy and we'll do a bunch of like pre-gaming and watch just a bunch of like YouTube videos exploring the deeper themes that are incorporated into the story and stuff. It's just really fun. It's been a really
Yeah.
great exercise.
Are you about to do that? And that's why you're wearing a black turtleneck?
Yeah, I do kind of
Yeah.
look like I'm ready to go thief a diamond or something.
I agree with Jeff. Like fly fishing is my number one. I really like just playing card games with my brothers too. Like we really like that as a family, but when both Jeff and Cyrus are there, it's just really funny and fun. And I just feel like I could do it for hours without getting tired of it. Just because it's fun to kind of make fun of each other in a lighthearted way like that. So that's really fun for me.
It's fun wrestling too. It's just
Yeah,
kind of like
wrestling.
a big hugging match.
Yeah, that's how we hug. All right. I wanted to do what would Mike and Jeff do? So let's say your brother is out there in the water getting tacked by a gator. You really want to pull your crab pots, but you haven't been able to pull them yet. What are you doing?
I have something that I think might actually not be completely stupid this time.
All right.
All right.
I feel like alligators, especially once they get like pretty big, really have two weaknesses. Their eyeballs, and also one that you brought up, Wes, that they can't really open their mouth very well if you're holding their mouth. So I was thinking like where he stuck his arm out to try to like stiff arm the alligator, it made it like pretty easy, it seems like, for the alligator to just bite his arm.
Yeah.
And like as a moment of panic, you don't know what to do. But I think I have seen videos where people can like pull their arm out before the alligator actually bites it. So if you time it just right, you could pull your arm back and then close its mouth and just hold its mouth closed.
Yeah. I think if you were really, really good with alligators, you could do that. They are incredibly fast at how quickly they can turn and clamp their mouth down. So I would never say that should be your strategy, but you should try to make sure it never opens its mouth to begin with. But if you can get its
How do you
mouth
do
closed,
that?
I don't know, by not being in the water with it. I'll get into that. But
Yeah.
Mike, why don't you do what would Mike and Jeff do?
I was thinking maybe there was a moment where I know this came up. I don't know exactly how, but the alligator thought he might have been dead, but he wasn't really quite yet.
Mhm.
So I would just pretend to be dead immediately. After 5 seconds, just go completely limp. And then maybe
Yeah.
it'll loosen its jaws a little bit. And I could do what Jeff's thinking. Pull the arm
Yeah.
out real quick and hug the jaws closed.
That's not a terrible answer either. So really, I mean, this is one of those animals where the main things you should do come before you actually get in the interaction with the animal. So really, if you're swimming in fresh water in places where the alligators live, you really have to be super careful. You have to pay attention. You want to scan to make sure there aren't any alligators in the area. But really avoiding swimming in really alligator dense places is the key. You just shouldn't swim in habitat for alligators because the splashing can draw them in, and there's a decent chance, like if you're swimming in fresh water in Florida or Louisiana, there's a decent chance there's alligators around. So avoiding it in the first place is the main thing. Don't ever feed them. Don't ever harass them. And then if you do find yourself in the water face to face with an alligator and say it does bite onto you, you can go limp and try and roll with it. You can do a few things to try and discourage it, but at that point you're just hoping that it does release its grip enough for you to get away, and there's a good chance it won't. So you need to just try and avoid it in the first place is the main thing. You can
What
go
if
for the
you-
eyes.
Like where they were just trying to go in a little bit to get some crab traps.
Yeah,
What if they had like a big 10-foot pole?
that would honestly probably really help, just to push it away with the pole or whatever.
Yeah.
Just like with sharks, like something in between you and it can really help. So yeah, that's another great thing to add to that.
You know what might be a good solution is for maybe like a government funded program where they just dump a bunch of TikTok clocks into the water so you can hear them when they're coming at you.
Just, yeah, exactly.
Because they eat the clock.
Feed every alligator a clock.
Exactly.
What if you wear like a suit of armor?
That would probably help too, unless it crunched
And
that
then
armor
all
down
of its
around
teeth would just shatter when it breaks.
It'd be hard to swim in that, but
you. It would be. I want to have my friend Chris, his @ is Gator Boys Chris, but he has millions of followers. He works with alligators every day. He runs a rescue in Florida where he has some alligators. He knows more about alligators than probably anyone I've ever met. And I'd love to have him on to talk a little bit more about safety. But Jeff, to your point, sometimes when he's working with multiple alligators, he'll have a stick that he kind of uses to direct them away from him, and it works really well. So a stick is a good idea. All right, this is a new category I saw in our new categories folder, the good roommate scale. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how good of a roommate this animal be?
The animal?
I think
Yeah,
mostly
an
pretty
alligator.
great. I'm going to go pretty high here. I'm going to say 9 because it's mostly just going to like sit there
Just sit there.
silently, completely silent. And that's what I'm looking for most in a roommate.
For reptiles, they are the most vocal reptiles, but you're right.
They do
still
bellow, huh?
mostly it's going to
Yeah.
be pretty silent.
I'll bump it down to an 8 then.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think an 8, because you could just set up one room in your apartment with a ultraviolet light and like some water, and that alligator's never going to leave that room ever again.
Right.
And
I think it would eat a lot of your food when you're not around.
yeah, it probably would eat your food, especially if you have like chicken and stuff.
Mm.
That's true. I'm still giving
Like
it
if
an
you
8,
got a
though,
pizza
for an
it would
animal.
eat, like your whole pizza before you even got a pizza. Like you're waiting for it to cool down and it just eats it all in one bite.
Yeah. Right.
I think a 10 would be like a jumping spider or something. So an alligator is definitely not as good as that. But
All right.
yeah,
Chimpanzee, it'd be a 10 for me.
Oh man,
it's like
that's like a
0
1
for me.
Yeah, that's as low as we can go. The alligator would be nice too because they attack very few people a year. I wouldn't be
Yeah.
too worried about that. I'm more worried about a human, to be honest. A
Yeah.
human roommate. I think they're
Sure.
more likely to attack me.
Ask you questions and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh,
you eating some macaroni for lunch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of shake do you have? What kind of shake do you have?
Super interesting line of conversation. Thanks for asking.
And then you'd go on to talk about shake flavors for the next 5 minutes.
Oh, man. You got me. You set me off.
Jeff, what's your number for an alligator as a roommate? 1 to 10.
I'm going to go 7. I think he's going to eat all my food. I think he'll never be dressed.
Yeah.
Always be naked.
Is that a positive or a negative?
That's 100% why
Negative.
Jeff wants a chimpanzee as a 10, because you can just put it in different clothes.
Mm.
You could dress an alligator.
Gorilla might be better than chimpanzee.
Alligators are all in on that free the nipple movement. I've never
That's
seen
true.
them wear any kind of covering.
I hate a roommate where it's like I ask them something and they don't talk back at all, you know?
Yeah. All right. So before we get into listener questions, I'm just going to say we had a question once for our Mount Rushmore of American animals. Like if we could put 4 animals on Mount Rushmore to represent America, what would it be? And I think I said American alligator and you guys didn't. And I just want to argue that I think this is my probably number 1 animal that I would say is like an American animal.
Yeah.
Because they are only found in the US. There's like a tiny, tiny, tiny little portion of Mexico that butts up against Texas where they're found. But this is really only an animal that's found in the United States. And they're found in a good chunk of it. They're a conservation success story. This is like probably my number 1 American animal, if I had
And
to
this
pick
is
one.
just a funny way to give a top 4. We're not going to like
Right.
steal the Native Americans mountain. We'll put it on
No.
someplace no one cares about.
Yeah,
you know?
Mount Rushmore is like a
Yeah.
hypothetical.
Yeah, right. I think, American alligator is hard to leave off.
I think it has to be on there.
Sure.
Okay. I just wanted to argue that really quick.
I'm all for it. Which
What were your 4?
I can't remember, but I think I would do American black bear, American alligator, bison, and bald eagle would probably be my 4.
Are elk pretty American?
No,
No.
they're not. They're in Mexico. They're in Canada. I think there's like red deer in Europe that are very elk-like.
what president would it be? Like what position would it be on Mount Rushmore? Would it be like the George or would it be
The
more of an
alligator?
Abe?
It's George Washington for me. It's like
okay, like the
it's my number
founding-
1 pick overall. Yeah.
Cool.
A couple listener questions.
It'd be cool to like redo Mount Rushmore with 4 animals.
It would be.
I would visit.
All right. This one's from Cade. Cade says, "You are Noah, and the people building your ark forgot about some animals and don't build it big enough. What animal are you leaving off?"
Like sharks.
Mosquitoes.
Sharks are going to be fine. You don't have to put
Exactly.
sharks on your ark. I think land animals is what we're talking. That's a good answer, though. Yeah, you could leave off crocodiles and alligators. They'll probably be fine.
He's saying just like what animals we have now would you be okay with not having?
Yeah, what are you picking to not be on your ark? Exactly.
Because I don't think you can really do bugs and stuff. That's cheating.
Yeah.
I'd probably pick one of the wild buffalo or cow species because they're so close to like our cows already that they just don't really do much for me. So that's probably what I'd pick.
Okay.
Not bison. I really like bison, but maybe like water buffalo.
Oh man, Garrison from our trip's gonna be so mad.
He's going to be so pissed at me. I
I'm gonna
kicked him
go-
off the Big 5 and now I'm kicking him off the planet.
Sure. I'm going to pick an animal that doesn't seem very motivated to live in the first place. So maybe like a panda. It's like if you're not going to,
Yeah, if you're going to eat something that doesn't
That
give you
is
any
rough.
nutritional value.
yeah.
But
I love
get it.
pandas, but come on.
I get it, but it
Yeah.
hurts.
Sorry, China.
I'm having a really hard time. I mean, there's only 8 types of bears. I feel like that's crazy to take out a bear.
Mm,
What's an animal that has like a ton of different species?
snake.
You know what? I'm going to take a rhino out. What's
Okay.
the rhino that's almost extinct?
Like a Javan rhino. Or I mean, is it Javan rhino?
No, I like the Asian rhinos. I think I'll just take a white rhino out.
Yeah.
Black rhinos and white rhinos are close enough to me that I only need one of them.
Okay.
Oh, man. They're so
All right.
cool, but I get it. I
Yeah.
respect your decision.
These are hard decisions. None
Like
of
I
us
feel
want
like
really hard.
rhinos, I just need one type of rhino. You know?
Yeah.
Okay.
The obvious choice for me is horse, but I think they're they've proven themselves to be useful enough that it would be a pretty different world we're living in today without them. Pandas,
That's true.
Dude, come on. It's
Oh,
like a
that's
lack of
crazy.
gratitude how little they want to propagate
had
their own
the-
species.
You
Like
had
Noah.
the chance to take out horses and you chose pandas. That's insane. Dude.
Yeah, there's like 3 pandas, and they're like, no, I think I won't have sex today. It's like, oh, really? The one primal, fundamental driving force behind all living species. You're just not
That's-
going to do it.
Dude, that's just like you hating yourself. You don't have sex. You just like sit there all day and eat plants.
Are you like you're referring specifically to me?
Yeah.
You're pretty off base on a few of those things. But
All
I
right.
kind of see where you're coming from.
Okay. This one's from Trey, TRES. They say, in my opinion, black bear is a bad name because I agree with you on this, because most black bears are brown and it can be confusing. I would disagree with that. Most of them are still black, but a lot of them can be brown. If you could pick another name for them, and we're talking American black bear here, which would each of you pick? I was thinking honey bear. It's a
I like
great.
that.
Yeah, I would actually pick honey bear for like a sun bear or a sloth bear because they actually eat a lot of honey.
It's
Sloth
kind
bear, I
of.
would rename honey
We
bear.
kind of need to like rename every type of bear except for
Yeah.
like a polar bear.
I think I would name.
Like
Black
bears
bears.
got bad names.
Yeah, panda's got a good name.
I
Spectacle.
don't like the giant.
I like
part.
spectacled or Andean bear too.
I don't like that pandas are giant pandas. I think it
Okay.
should just be panda bear.
I would name black bears forest bears.
Oh, that's what I was gonna pick. Dang it.
Yeah.
I wasn't clever enough to think of anything else.
Well, that's all right. We can both pick forest bears.
Yeah. They like
Yeah.
berries. Berry bear? That'd be kind of fun.
Berry bear. It's hard to say, but it is fun. Yeah.
I'm gonna say tree bears.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about brown bears?
What would I name them?
They're a bad name too, right?
Yeah. I kind of like brown bear actually.
Really?
Yeah. I think it's a good name for them.
I guess just grizzlies.
That's what I
I
would
think it'd be
go with.
better.
Yeah, you
just to
could just
be
name
all
them
rename
Grizzly
them all
worldwide.
Grizzly.
Okay, this one is from Jordan. Jordan says, when we were in Lamar Valley in Yellowstone, we were watching a pack of wolves traveling through, and there was a grizzly walking alongside of them. We watched them disappear into the trees. The bears went with them too. They all seemed to be okay with each other. Is this normal? This isn't normal, but it's not by any means like unprecedented.
It didn't
So-
blow your brains out.
No, it does happen occasionally. It's often like a subadult bear that realizes wolves kill a lot of animals, and if it simply follows a wolf pack, it will eat really well.
Mm.
And they often, like, the wolves will kill something, the bear will go in, push them off the kill, eat its fill, and then the wolves come in and eat afterward. So it's got to be pretty annoying for the wolves, but this does happen. Like every few years, there's video from Yellowstone, especially, where you see a bear that's just following a wolf pack, and the wolves just kind of tolerate the bear, and the bear tolerates the wolves.
Bad roommate.
I would go
Yeah.
bad.
And it is always grizzly bears. Black bears don't do this, but grizzly bears will do it.
Dude, alligators as a roommate just hiding their food stash in your room. It gets so smelly.
Yeah, it would get pretty nasty. I did have an alligator roommate for a while, though, I guess, and I liked him. All right, let's do one more from Patreon. This one's from Matt. Matt says, in Dungeons and Dragons, a brown bear has a challenge rating of 1. That means a group of level 1 adventurers should be a match for one brown bear. Could the 3 of you, with chainmail and swords, take on a brown bear in a cage match?
Yeah,
What do you
I
guys
think we
think?
could.
With
Chainmail and swords.
I don't.
I don't
we
think I'm
could.
going to use the chainmail.
Yeah,
I just want the
I would.
sword.
interesting. I'd want the chainmail for
Yeah.
sure.
You said they can break a bowling ball with their teeth.
Yeah, I'm not going to be happy with it, but it's better than nothing.
But
Right.
like you wouldn't be able to really move. I feel like I'll have a chance to stab it if I don't have chainmail.
Well, isn't chainmail?
Chainmail's not that heavy, though.
I'm pretty heavy.
If Aragorn's gonna wear it, then I'm gonna wear it. That's how I think about chainmail.
Yeah, I don't know. I've
Gimli?
never fought in chainmail before. I would want it. If you're about to put me in a cage with a grizzly bear and you say, hey, you can either have chainmail or not have chainmail, I would say, yeah, give me the chainmail.
Yeah.
But I think the bear's winning against the 3 of us.
I do that move where like I drop my sword fighting it,
Mhm.
you know? and then it knocks me over and it's about to kill me, and then I turn around with my sword and it runs into it.
Go behind you into
Oh,
the
that's a
bear.
good move. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we have a helmet? Because
I don't
I'd
know.
put
It
it on
doesn't
the
say
ground
helmet.
and then the bear would kick it and break its toe. Probably. Like in that one movie.
It wasn't even acting. That was like its
Yeah,
real
it's
expression.
real. Yeah.
A quick conservation corner. This is an animal that in the 50s, we thought there was probably only about 100,000 of them left, which really isn't that many for a reptile. So they were actually on the way to extinction. And that was from a lot of different things, from pollution, like DDT, from overhunting, from habitat loss. And they were one of the first species added to the endangered species list. They received a lot of protections. Before that, Florida outlawed hunting, and they really rebounded quickly. This is an animal that reproduces pretty quickly. They can have a lot of hatchlings, and they rebounded. And in just like, I think it was 20 years after the Endangered Species Act, they were removed. Now, in a lot of these states, they can be legally harvested. And like we mentioned, there's about 5 million of them now in the US. So they're doing really well. And they are a really important conservation success story. It shows that when we do focus on these kind of issues, we can bring an animal back from the brink of extinction, which I think is wonderful. And it's neat to have those animals out there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's great to know.
Quick claw rating. I'm going to give them 9 claws. This is a 9-claw animal for me. I love alligators. Get excited every time I see one.
You like saltwater crocodiles the most, at crocodilian though, right?
I don't know. I have a hard time deciding that. It's probably between alligators and caiman though, like a yakare caiman. But I think alligators are they might be my favorite because I've worked with them quite a bit. I had a pet alligator for a bit, which I regret now, but at the time I didn't think was wrong. I don't know. I really like alligators.
Well, I mean, Utah's a good spot to have a pet alligator.
It's
anyways,
not.
though.
No, you shouldn't have pet alligators. I was a dumb kid.
I think I gotta give them an 8, just because I do really love them, but I think I just like other crocodilians more. I like saltwater crocs more. I probably like caiman more if you were gonna kill me to make me decide.
Yeah, I won't do that.
Yeah.
So alligators are probably around like my 3rd or 4th favorite crocodilian.
I'd wait till after you decided to kill you, but
Yeah.
I'm going to give him a 10. This is a rare 10 animal, 10 claw animal for me.
From Mike.
I just think they made such, I imprinted or they imprinted on me, one or the other when I was little. I just think they're the coolest, some of the coolest looking, sexiest looking animals. They're just so sleek and dangerous, but also kind of just vibing. They're a really cool combination of like a lot of different things I like in an animal. And I just think they're one of the coolest out there. I'm glad we have them.
Amazing. Me too. All right. Well, that's it for this episode. Thanks so much for listening.
I wanted to real quick to plug our Patreon.
That's what I was about to do. You do it instead.
Yeah, I'll do it. How about that?
Yeah,
watch this.
Yeah. We'll have both of you do it and then compare.
No, but I just did an episode that I liked a lot. Did you guys like it?
Amazing.
Yeah, it was great.
It's about these 2 different men who like get bit by black mambas, inland taipans, some of the cobras, some of the most venomous snakes, but they've envenomated themselves throughout their life so they can take bites from these snakes, and it's really fascinating. And also, I think I'll share just like a thread on Patreon about my whole catfishing incident if people want to see like some of the messages and ask more questions, because I know I went long, but like I made that story as short as I could.
Yeah, I will say like we've been talking amongst the 3 of us a lot just about how to make our Patreon and our subscription channels as good as possible, because that really is one of our main priorities, is taking care of our subscribers. So while we're always going to continue to have free episodes, we really have a lot of fun with our subscription episodes. I think they're really fun, and I don't know, our Patreon community, they're the ones we can interact with the most. It's just been really fun to get to know people on there. So, yeah. All right. Okay.
All right. Thanks, Wes. Good episode.
Thanks, guys.
Love you, everyone.
Love you.
See ya.
Bye.